We're live. We're live. Okay, this is like really haphazard because I was downstairs with my son in the swimming pool and have no makeup on. Just had a dentist appointment, and we're talking about laughter today, so it's perfect. Like, it's perfect because it's like so unorganized. So yeah, I saw you have no makeup on, and studio audience, how are you guys? How are you guys? Studio audience. We got Baby Yoda in the studio audience. Very famous person in the studio audience. And I have a retainer for the next 3.5 months, which is awesome. And you can see this tooth is, there's no tooth there, actually. But there's an implant, so it's like healing. So I have a retainer. Hi guys, yay, it's so good to see you. I was out of town, and then I had a funeral, and yeah, a lot of stuff going on. So what I've been dying to talk about is laughter as a healing tool. So I want to start today, I want to talk about my own experience with laughter as a healing tool, and then if we keep going, we might make this a two-parter. My first experience with laughter as a healing tool was when I got sober. I was 24 years old, and I remember I went to a 12-step program to get sober. I didn't have any money. I had no insurance. I couldn't go to rehab, nothing. Like, I detoxed in my little apartment, and life had gotten really dark. Like, there was no laughter in my life. And I remember I would go, when I moved to LA with like 6 months of sobriety, I would go to these meetings on Friday nights, and they were speaker meetings. And a lot of the times the speakers would be, they would share things, they would share their own stories, and they were things that I had done, and I found so mortifying. They were like secrets, they were really shameful, and they would just say this stuff out loud, and we would all just die laughing. And alcoholics have very twisted, and addicts have very twisted senses of humor, really, because we've been through it, right? And at that time, I started going to a meeting that was in a little apartment on the floor of this woman's little tiny apartment, and it had candles everywhere. It was a woman's meeting. It was really sweet. And there was this woman there, and she laughed so loud. Like, her laugh was like infectious, and it made me laugh. And her name was Jenny, and she's my best friend to this day. And that was 22 years ago. I haven't had a drink in 22 years. It'll be 23 years, November 15th. Court willing, not God willing. God is always willing. And she just had this laugh, and we would go to, and she cried all the time too. It was hilarious. She'd be crying and laughing at the same time, and I'd be crying and laughing, and I never thought I would laugh again. And we would laugh so hard. We would cry tears of, joy, and we would go to these speaker meetings and just laugh about things that had been such dark secrets. And then I was able to share my dark secrets, let go of the shame. And it really, really brought about just so much healing. And that's been my recovery. There's a certain point in recovery where everything's so dark that you just, I don't know, there was just a turning point for me where I was like, I don't really have to take all of this stuff too seriously, because this isn't, when you get sober and you're sober a while, it's like, well, I'm not doing those things anymore. And they do become funny. And also because we all kind of do the same stuff. Like, we come in with these big secrets, and then it's like everybody's done all the stuff that's like your big secret. So laughter, levity, and the actual act of laughing, like Friday nights, I couldn't go to bed for hours because I would feel high. Like, it was just so great. I went to that meeting for 10 years and laughed every Friday night. Looking at time. Okay, we're 5 minutes in. So the big story, the other big one for me was, as most of you know, I had postpartum mental illness for 4 years. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It was absolutely horrific. And I tried so many things. And I couldn't get anything to work. The medications I had taken before no longer worked. And I tried no medication. I tried exercising massively. I tried jogging. I tried the paleo diet. I mean, anything you can think of, I did, basically. And what happened was I ended up finding a treatment called TMS, which is Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation. And it's basically an MRI magnet that goes on your head. And it's the strength of an MRI magnet, and it literally shoots through your frontal cortex and wakes up those neurotransmitters that are totally black. Like, it's dark in the frontal cortex when you're suffering with depression. For most people, it's really dark. Like, literally it's dark, you know, it's dark here, and it's literally dark here, and it's dark here too, you know. I mean, I couldn't think a positive thought. So what happened was my big hope was this TMS thing, and it was 56% success rate, and meds weren't working, nothing was working. I'd been hospitalized twice. By this time my son was 3, and I just wanted to be able to be a mom, and I wanted to be able to live. So I did TMS, and about 3 weeks into it, I realized I was going to live. I mean, it was by no stretch of the imagination a big, huge, none of these were all subtle shifts in healing. But I realized I was going to live. And I didn't think I was going to get out of this. I thought this was it. When I realized I was going to live, a little light bulb went off and went, let's do that stand-up comedy class. Let's take that stand-up comedy class. I just want to take the class. I want to get through the 8 weeks, and I want to do the showcase at the end. It was a 5-minute showcase at Flappers in Burbank. And I had taken this class during my postpartum when I was really, really sick. And I got to the point, I only got through a few classes before my depression was so bad I could barely move. My fatigue was so heavy. I would just sleep and sleep and sleep and, you know, care for my child, do what I had to do, and then go back to sleep. And that was my life. And it was very dark and very horrible. And the only time I didn't feel horrible was when I was asleep, and at the end I lost my power of sleep and I wasn't able to eat anymore. So I was very, very skinny. But basically, I took this class and I had to drop it. And so I just made this decision to take this class. I was just going to take it. I had no idea that I was ever going to do stand-up comedy. And what happened was I took the class, and as I was taking the class, I was doing the TMS, and of course I was in therapy and everything else, and in my 12-step program, and doing work in all these areas of my life, and healing and healing and healing, because healing is not one thing. It's never one thing. And I took the class, and part of the class was you had to go to open mics, and you had to get up and do comedy, like immediately. Like, you went to day 1, like that next day, she's like, go to open mics, that's your homework. And it's terrifying, right? But I would go to these open mics, and like a lot of the jaded comics would, you know, they just go and they'd work on their material. They wouldn't pay attention to the comic up front. They'd be talking in the back, whatever, right? But I paid attention to every comic. And some of these open mics would be like 3 hours long, you know? And I just paid attention, and I would laugh. Whenever something was funny, I would laugh. And then I was telling jokes, and I was looking for material. So what I was doing was really cognitive behavioral therapy without realizing it. I was looking for the funny in life. I was looking for the absurdity in life. I wasn't looking at what's wrong, what's horrible, why I want to die. I was looking at what's funny. And so it framed my world, and it shifted my perception as I was doing this major treatment that was literally waking my brain back up. I can't emphasize that enough. Laughter alone, I don't think is going to do it. And the other thing that I would do is listen to stand-up comedy. And as I was healing, it was really interesting, because sometimes, like when I was still really in it, I would listen to stand-up comedy, and I would go, when I was really bad, I would just listen to it, and I was like, I wouldn't hear anything funny. And then, slight shift was, I would go, that's funny. I wouldn't laugh, but I would think, that's funny. And then I would start to chuckle a little bit, right? Titter a little bit, haha, hee, right? And then straight up laugh, straight up laughter. To this day, stand-up comedy or a really funny movie, Anchorman, one of my favorites, so many, Zoolander, don't get me started. I could go for days. I would put on a really funny movie or a really great stand-up that I know that I love, that I find hilarious. I watch the same ones over and over again because I always find new stuff. And I laugh and I laugh, and I get a belly laugh, like a real belly laugh, and it literally lifts my spirits. And when I had mental illness so bad, when I had depression so bad, you know, you're frozen, you're just frozen. And what laughter would do for me was essentially what meditation does for a lot of people. I'm not putting meditation down. I love meditation. I practice meditation. It's great. I don't have a formal practice, but I love it. It's awesome, and it works so well for a lot of people. But when you're that messed up and your brain is not working, it's so much easier to turn on a comedy and laugh, and I believe we get a lot of the same benefits that we get from meditation. And actually there's a lot of science and all of that, and I kind of like want to do that next week. I was thinking about, you know, bringing some examples to you guys and some of the science behind it, because it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating to me because I've seen it work in my own life. And so what happened was I did the showcase, right? I ended up with 5 minutes of material that I had worked out during this 8-week period, and I was so nervous. I was hallucinating, you guys. Oh my God. And I got on stage. I had 21 people come and see me and support me. And, you know, I had felt so unloved and so alone. And so, you know, going like, hey, I'm doing stand-up comedy for the first time and inviting a whole bunch of people. All of this was so outside of my comfort zone of what I had been in for 4 years. And all these people came out and supported me. I didn't think I had any friends anymore. And I felt so loved. And I got up there, and making people laugh is a whole other level. And I literally felt, and this is so cheesy, but I felt like I was just riding these waves of love. It just felt like love, and it felt so strong, and it felt through like all of my cells of my being, and it healed me. It healed me making other people laugh, just like it heals me to serve other people. You know, I've been working with people on sobriety and sanity for almost 20 years now, and it helps me just as much as it helps them when I get to help people, and I'm helping people, and it's helping me, and the laughter healed me. I did stand-up comedy for 3 years. I ended up actually doing stand-up comedy at the Laugh Factory, which was like, what? I never even thought that would be possible in my life. And, you know, and then I got sick with Lyme, and that's what made the stand-up comedy stop. And now I'm public speaking, and I love it, and I'm really happy with this path I'm on. I'm not saying stand-up comedy won't happen again. I would love for it to happen again, and who knows? We'll see. I love doing stand-up. It's so much fun, but it takes a lot of time, and I kind of have to focus because I tend to go, right, all over the place. So it's been 14 minutes. Do any of you guys have any questions? We're talking about laughter as a healing modality. So what happened was, during those 3 years, I was pretty stable. You know, it took a while. It took a while to get okay and get the cobwebs cleared from being that sick for that long. And you know, I gained some weight. I started sleeping again. You know, I mean, I started eating, and it was just, it all like rolled into this thing. And so the other thing that I would do was, when I did a lot of shows, and I had a lot of fun. I did a lot of shows at the Comedy Store. I did one show at the Improv, and of course Laugh Factory, which was like, I did a lot of shows at Flappers. And when I would do a show, instead of sitting in the green room with the other comics, I would sit, you know, in the back of the audience, and I would watch the comics, and I would just lose my mind. I would just laugh so hard. And literally, a stand-up comedy show, if you haven't been to a stand-up comedy show, I so highly recommend it. It's so much fun, and it's such a service to do for yourself. Like, it's such self-love. Because literally you're there for like 2 to 3 hours laughing your ass off. And I mean, I would laugh so hard, I just have tears going down my cheeks. I remember seeing Erik Myers do his Taco Bell bit. If you guys haven't seen it, Google Erik Myers with a K. He actually coached me for a little bit. And his Taco Bell bit is so funny. Like, I actually watched my husband, who's pretty serious dude, like, I thought he'd like lost his mind watching Erik do comedy. And, you know, and I also got to, like, I surrounded myself with other comics and the other people who are looking for the funny, you know. And the interesting thing is, most comics are pretty dark people. A lot of them struggle with mental illness. I was definitely not the only one. And a lot of addiction, and you know, I think there's a special calling, like we who've been through trauma and we who've been through mental illness, you know, like I think you just get to a certain point, or I should say I got to a certain point where I couldn't cry anymore. You know, it was like, it's not serving me to be sad anymore. And not that I don't deal with my stuff, I continue to do the work, but there's a certain point where you just have to laugh. And there's a certain point, if you've had so much tragedy in your life like I have, and so much trauma, I just kind of hit a wall where it was like, I remember literally like 2.5 years in, when I was really had momentum doing comedy, where I just thought, what if I didn't take anything serious? Do I really have to take anything serious? Now that's very black and white, and I can get very black and white, and the truth is somewhere in between. But I could definitely have a few days or hours where I don't take anything seriously. And I invite you to do that. I invite you next time you start to go into the darkness, which I know so many of us are in right now during this pandemic. This is so hard. Even for the most sane person, this is so hard. To flip the switch and laugh. Flip the switch, put on your favorite comedy, watch a new comedy. God, I could write a whole list. Maybe in the replay, I'll put a list of, I mean, there's so many movies, Step Brothers. There's so many movies that just kill me, make me laugh so hard. The one with Will Ferrell where they have the fraternity house. Oh my God, that one's so funny. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it in the notes. But laugh. That's it. Laugh. That's it. It's so simple. You don't have to sit down and meditate for 20 minutes and be a guru and work so freaking hard. If you're really down, try it. Let me know how it goes, you guys. So contact me at Court Rundell on Twitter, Instagram. I'm here at facebook.com, Court Rundell Phoenix. I'm on the YouTube. Call my name. I'm here. And I'm not sure. We might talk about the science of it next week, or I might get inspired to do something else. So I'll keep you guys posted. I love you so much. And please remember that love is always the right answer. Laughter doesn't hurt, though. I love you guys. Mwah! Maybe next week I'll have makeup on. Please hit the subscribe button. There.
And bell.
Watching. What?
And bell.
And ring my bell, please.